So I want to spend a little bit of time, because this is a little pre-preparation on the time aspect. Why is it important to be prepared to stay on time?
It gives you respect for others' time.
Okay, gives you respect for other people's time. That is really valuable in this day and age, that people think, you know what, that 2 hours, they are making the most out of it. So that's great. Why else?
It never stays, it just gets worse and worse.
Okay.
Like if you start to go down that path of lacking punctuality or whatever, or time management, it's really hard to reel it back in.
Yeah, it just snowballs. And so you want to at least have acknowledged going in, I need help to stay on track. I am not going to automatically stay on track. I'm going to have to give myself some cues and some guidance. So I'm going to talk about this particular study, but if it's another study you're talking about, the same ideas would apply. In this study, there's 5 days of questions. There are 45 minutes of discussion. So how much time do you have on each day? 9 minutes. And so you should put at the start, that start time plus 9 minutes plus 9 minutes, and then you have your end time, and you are checking that the whole way through. And so give yourself a fighting chance to be on time by helping yourself before you even start that morning with those notations. You might want to put a little section that if, and hopefully you don't, but in an unusual situation where you do get behind, that could be the thing that you skip to keep moving on. You know, maybe the thing that would be the one thing that you hope not to skip, but if an unusual situation does that, you could have that. Okay, before class, when you get there, be the first one to arrive. And if you're driving from work or dropping off kids, that might not be entirely realistic, but really endeavor to get there early, endeavor to get there, to catch your breath, to get focused, and then to troubleshoot. If there's things that happen when you walk in the door that need some attention, you can be part of the team to help solve some of those things. Have all your materials. Try to be organized. That comes more naturally to some people than others, but, you know, endeavor for that, or have that be a prayer item. Review your own lesson and notes before you go in so it's a little bit fresh, so you're not thinking, what did we do last week? David, some guy named David wrote something, you know, kind of freshen that up a little bit. And then be prayed up. Okay, when you get to your class time now, you want to keep the main goals of the morning in mind. And so I'm saying that for a lot of reasons, but some of these, your overall goal, you can have that. I have years where I put my goal every time that it's in the lesson, I put it at the top of that page. What is my goal? What is my goal? You might give yourself a weekly goal. It could relate to your leadership, or it could relate to a truth from the Lord, and write that on your page. And one of the things that will help you do is, as you are going through and talking about some of these problems and encountering some of these problems, if you go back to that, that's going to help you kind of know how to solve it. So for instance, if one of the main points is to understand that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and you have, you know, people in your group that don't really understand what the fear of the Lord is, and you really want them to understand that, and so then there's been a question that comes up that might have some theological discrepancy. Who cares about the theological discrepancy? What you want them to pay attention is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And if there's other things where they're off track, you can just pull them back here and have that be sort of a focal point for you to come back to. And it can help your mind, even in your own way that you handle things, in your own words, in your own conduct, keep yourself focused on, you know, I don't have to win in this discussion, or I don't have to have her think I'm smart. What I want them to all understand is this, and that'll just be a little bit of a guide as you go. Be very welcoming to all the women as the year goes on. If there's new women, be very loving and welcoming to them. If people have been gone and sick, you know, you want to make sure to acknowledge them. And then during the class time, you want to encourage and promote discussion. So it's a discussion time, right? During that discussion time, it's not a lecture time. It's not the non-videotaped video of you time. They have a video. They get that. It's not you. And for some of you, that's like, good. I don't want to talk very much. And for some of you, you're really going to have to be like, oh, this is really hard for me. And so one of the biggest reasons you can encourage yourself to talk less and listen more is that people learn more when they are forced to articulate what they have studied and what they have learned. So I might write something down, but if I have to try to figure out a way to say it to this group right here, I'm going to remember it more, it's going to mean more to me, and I'm more likely to apply it. So it is your gift to the women to listen and not tell them the answers. You might tell me that sometimes the Lord gives powerful conviction, and be listening for it because it's really going to make a difference in how you live. Okay. But if I tell you that on Sunday morning during the worship time, I was having a critical thought about someone, and the Lord said to me, worry about yourself, Laurie. It was like a smack. Worry about yourself, Laurie. And I was just overwhelmed with the conviction, and it was like, okay, I'm telling you that now. That is going to be so much more at the ready the next time that critical thought comes my way, because I have articulated that. Allow the women to say their stuff rather than you just saying, this might happen for you, you'll find this out one day, or to tell all your stuff. So please let them do that. They've got to discover it, then they've got to verbalize it, and so draw them out. Do the quiet ones benefit from articulating? Yeah, they might be the ones that articulate the least throughout the course of their week in their families and their homes. Maybe, maybe not, but really you want to try to help them do it. And it might be hard, but they're going to love figuring out that that's going to be so helpful to them. Yeah.
One question, thing that I have trouble with, okay, you have your question and you bring that out. And we've been together, so she knows I have this problem. Okay, you have the question, and there's dead silence. And I know you're supposed to wait, and somebody will talk sooner or later, but you're also on a time frame. So here we've got this little bit of a time frame, and we're waiting for these ladies to talk.
Okay, that is a really good question. So I'm going to look at my watch now, and I'm going to say that we're just going to do a role play. Okay, who can tell me what you found for the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom? What does that mean to you?
This is where I babble.
That was 6 seconds. That felt long, didn't it?
Yeah.
That felt really long. By 10 seconds, someone's going to answer. It feels so long to you that you want to think about when your kid was learning to put the thing in the thing. And you had to sit on your hands. So sit on your hands. Now, if it's really, 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 really hard, you can say, I know this was hard. Somebody just get us started. Say something to get us started. And what happens? One person goes, and then it goes. You can use humor. Who's got that? Okay, nobody learned a thing. I guess we'll go on to the next question. What's going to happen? So, no, and they'll back up on that, right? Yeah, so there you can just look around and see, can I catch anybody's eye on this one? I know the Lord was teaching somebody on this. Come on, be brave. You just, yeah. So, sit on your hands. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. The bulk of the morning, when Teresa walks around, or wherever you are that you're ministering, and your leader walks around, whose voices should be heard? The groups. That should be the bulk of the time. You facilitate, you ask the questions, but you let that group do the talking. That's what they're there for. That's what you're facilitating. You are not the boss speaker. Okay. Keep in mind the composition of your group as you're doing this, and don't make assumptions about what they know or don't know. So I was this was years ago, I went to a different denomination of a church, and I went for a women's night something, and the worship leader, she was real sweet and real darling, but she would say, okay, everybody knows this one, la la la, and I'm like, I don't know that one. And then she'd say, how about this one? A good old oldie, da-da-da-da-da, and there's no pay. Like, I didn't know what to answer. I thought, it was just kind of no fun. And I just kept feeling more and more out of place. I was by myself, and I felt like I don't know. So think of the women in your group. So don't make assumptions. You all know this story. We're all familiar with this Bible verse. You've all learned this one. No, they maybe all haven't. And so keep that in mind. And so that, who said before, somebody about that, the young ones and the mature ones are both finding value. So make sure that you're saying things that are, working for everybody and not making any assumptions about that. I think the reality in those situations is the older ones are loving, helping the young ones come along, and so you can kind of foster that too. Now, when you're having your discussion time, as much as you can, helping the women to stay focused on God's Word itself as opposed to, for instance, and I'm always trying to think of, me when I first went to my first Bible study, or think of yourself. If you were raised up in the church, you might not be able to grab this, but think about people who weren't and hadn't studied the Bible before, and then they've come to this Bible study. And then women in your group start talking about, well, C.S. Lewis, I was reading that last night, and it was profound, and all this. And so then I feel like, do I need to read C.S. Lewis? Who's C.S. Lewis? I don't even know what a C.S. Lewis is. Maybe I can't come to this Bible study because I'm kind of dumb. And so just try to not let that be a big thing that people are making references to all things that everybody might not be able to chime in on or even feel comfortable about, as much as you can help them. Focus on God's Word. Focus on the study that you have. Start on time. And it can be hard to start on time, and you feel a little bossy and a little taskmasterish, but what happens if you wait 5 and 6 minutes on that first day of getting started? When are you ever so sad? Back here when you can't make it up. You can't get it back. And so if the women are stragglers or slow talkers or talking, and you just start. And if there's one person at your table, it'll feel awkward, it'll feel funny, but do it. And that will convey to the women, like, we have 45 minutes to discuss God's Word, and guess what? We're going to discuss God's Word. So you get down to it, and you start, and you set that example, and that's going to promote a sense of urgency, and then you won't be so sad when you get to the end of it that you don't have time for the wrap-up. You might need, an extra minute on day one to greet everybody and welcome them there and give them a little love. Add that in. So I want to just talk a little bit. Why does it matter that you pace yourself well through the morning and so that you cover that material that's been what everybody has studied for that week? Why does that matter? It sounds like we're being sort of, fussy about it, but why does it matter?
Someone in your group might really been touched by something they studied on one day, and if you don't get to it, they're like, well.
Yeah, that's super disappointing if you don't get to that highlight of my week and I don't get to talk about it. Absolutely. Why else?
The complete lesson. You want to teach it.
Okay. It's a complete lesson you want to teach. A lot of time has been put into every day. There are valuable things to learn. Yes, thank you.
If you don't teach every day, then it might give them the idea that, well, it's okay, I only did 3 days, or I don't have to do all the whole study. I can,
Absolutely.
And they feel disappointed if they did do the work and then it's not acknowledged.
Okay, so there's two things there. One might be if you don't get to each one, they're going to think, well, I guess every day isn't valuable. And the other thing is, I am so disappointed we didn't get to those last questions. And you know what? I didn't really understand them. I needed help on that, and we ran out of time, and I don't even know what's the end of that. And it's particularly if it builds from one week to the next, one lesson to the next, which oftentimes it does. If you miss a whole thing and you have a whole hole there, then they don't have that foundation to build upon. Women get frustrated. They get mad. Like, I did all this work, come on. They leave confused. So look at those time markings and abide by them. And really make it a prayer to do that. And be a woman of integrity and adhere to those. And you've committed to do it. Lead that Bible study in 45 minutes. It's what the women are expecting, and so it's respectful to give them what they're expecting, and they shouldn't be shortchanged because you managed your time poorly. So really that's something that you can endeavor to do, and the Lord will help you to do that. Okay, we want to take some time to respond to difficult situations you may encounter. So I'm going to talk about these here, and then we're going to make sure and look at the board that we cover those as well. Okay, so controversial areas. This could include theological differences, political differences, denominational differences. What are some other controversial areas? Parenting styles, whatever it is. So you can make it known early on, either before anything happens or when the first one comes up, that we are going to agree to disagree. There are going to be things that we are not going to agree on, and I'm just going to, you can call the time out or do however you want to do with your little strategy and just say, you know what? Theologians have been arguing about this for years. There are volumes of books written on this topic. We could make a whole lot more money if we could solve this and get one opinion. We're not going to do it, ladies. Let's move on and get back to question number 4. Tell me again now. Now, Kim, what did you have for number 4? And you're just not going to do it. You're just not going to go there.